Hello everyone and welcome back to Beatley Tone's Beatles channel. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for joining me for this video. Hope you're all doing well. Now, you know I like to bring you breaking news on this channel, and recently it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And again today there is more news of something else that is coming our way. A third John Lennon documentary called Borrowed Time, The Last Decade, and it's coming in the summer of 2025. May, June is a kind of a scheduled release for it. Before I get onto the details of that, let's just talk about the other two documentaries, because there's a little bit of concern about how we get hold of these. And the first one, Daytime Revolution. If you don't know what that is, it's a 5-day stint that John and Yoko co-hosted the Mike Douglas show in America in 1972. A documentary about that. It features them interviewing various guests, taking questions and answers from the audience, and some musical performances as well. Now, that has already came out on the 9th of October, John's birthday, in cinemas, but in the US only. There was I don't believe there was anywhere else around the globe that got this in the cinema. It is available to pre-order on DVD and Blu-ray, but again only from American sites at the moment. So you could go to Amazon.com for example and pre-order it. It comes out on the 29th of November, but obviously even if you've got Prime and you're not in the US, you're going to pay shipping costs. The shipping cost to the UK is about £8 on top. The DVD is about £20 and the Blu-ray is about £22. So I'm kind of hanging on a little bit just to wait and see whether this gets sold on Amazon.co.uk, because I've got Prime and therefore wouldn't have to pay any shipping cost. So there's that one. Then there's the one-to-one documentary, which centres around that period in 1972 where John and Yoko were putting together the one-to-one concert. It's not a concert film, but obviously includes excerpts of the film, but it's all to do with that sort of period, and it's got clips taken from John and Yoko's own video archive sort of thing. And that has been shown on in a few film festivals around the world. London, I think it was in Vienna as well. But there doesn't seem to have been any cinema release of this, or any Blu-ray or DVD release of this. I don't know whether it's going to go directly to streaming, but that hasn't been announced either. So we need to keep an eye out on that, because that promises to be really good. Now, the new film, which is we've had information about this today, is called Borrowed Time. It's called Borrowed Time, and it's it's about the last decade of John's life, and there's been a press release on it. So I'll just read you sort of some of the highlights. Here's some information regarding the upcoming documentary Borrowed Time, Lennon's Last Decade. Cinema release May, June 2025. Again, we don't know whether this is going to be US only or it's going to be a worldwide release. This is a summarised edit of Facebook post by the director Alan G. Parker. Now, he says, initially way back in the summer of 2018, with a successful Beatles movie, it was 50 years ago, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper and Beyond, under our belts, we thought about making an in-depth movie about the last 12 months of John's life. And to that end, a lot of research was done and plans were made, but with the arrival of COVID and a much longer research period than we thought we originally had, we pretty much scrapped those plans, feeling like the story had already been told to the nth degree, and there was no genuine conclusions to be reached anyway. But over time, lots of people who have seen our Beatles movie and knew John Lennon pretty well were queuing up to be in our movie. So this kind of sounds like there's going to be like a lot of talking heads in this, mixed up with footage, maybe something that we've seen before, maybe some that we haven't seen before. The plan by May 2021 was to interview as many people who knew John as possible in depth. None of them were getting any younger, and so the time was right to get their truth on film. We also interviewed a select number of Beatles authors and scholars because I always find they are better with dates, times and places. By the end of 2022, we had successfully interviewed over 55 people, and following Christmas break we hit the studio in 2023. By now there was no point in rushing borrowed time. We knew we had something, and so the edit was relaxed, and a long format fan film started to come together, which runs for 3 hours and 28 minutes. And although hardcore Lennon fans will love it, we felt that we also needed a more commercially accessible version. So basically there are going to be 2 versions of this film, a long one and a little bit shorter one. Like all documentaries, not everybody can make the final cut, but here's a list of those interviewed who have made the final cut. Now, I haven't heard of some of these people, but I'll read out the ones that I have heard of. Chris Charlesworth, Chris Salwitz, Tony Bramwell, Tariq Ali, Andy Peebles, David Stark, who is an author. He wrote a book called It's All Too Much, which is basically about him stalking the Beatles and meeting them on various occasions. I've read it, it's quite amusing. Tony Palmer, Ray Connolly, Chris Welch from the Melody Maker British music paper, Barry Miles, Philip Norman, John Dunbar, Bob Harris, the presenter of the Old Grey Whistle Test here in the UK, Earl Slick, the guitarist who's on Double Fantasy and Milk and Honey, and is also the guitarist in the last incarnation of David Bowie's live band. Who else have we got? Ken Womack as well is included in this list as well, the author of the Mal Evans book, and YouTuber. Okay, so in the late summer of 2024, following lots of conversations about what we were looking for in terms of the second version, we went back to the studio, and this time round we created a version of Borrowed Time that I'm incredibly proud of, which, although running some 98 minutes less than the original, really stands up as a story about Lennon's later years, so much so that I began referring to the original version as the director's rough cut. So there are 2 different films. Our plan now is to use one for the official release and the other as a sort of long format DVD, Blu-ray extra. And in all honesty, I can't wait for you to see both. It's been long, sometimes frustrating, at times annoying road, but now it's ready for release, and I for one can't wait. I'd like to personally thank blah blah blah, we don't need to go into that, but what it says at the end of this piece is that the cinema and TV cut, so presumably this is going to be something that's going to be available to stream, is the 2 hour 8 minutes version, and the DVD Blu-ray director's cut is 3 hours and 28 minutes. So that is something that's coming in 2025, something else for us to look forward to. I'm never that excited about films or documentaries that have, talking head after talking head after talking head. I like to see sort of, footage or, real interview material, in this case, from John or Yoko. I don't know if you guys feel the same about talking heads being included in documentaries, but whenever I watch them, and we have loads of these things on British TV, 30 shocking moments of 1986 or something like that, and they interview all these sort of TV personalities, I always feel like they've just been shown the footage that they're about to talk about, and then they just talk about it. So they're not actually, working from their own memory, and that always comes over to me as being, ingenuine. So I'm not a big fan of talking head involvement in documentaries. But that's the news. That's the news, folks. So that is pretty much it from me. Please tell me down in the comments what you think of this. Is this something that excites you, or is it another John Lennon documentary, or one John Lennon documentary too far maybe for some of you? But please tell me down in the comments. Love to read your comments. I will respond to all your comments. I've got a lot to do on this channel. I've got videos stacking up on my list of things to do, but obviously when I put a video out, I need to let it breathe for a little while before going on to the next one. But anyway, that's all from me. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.